Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, we are looking at some art supplies that were sent to me by a YouTuber, Mr. Mega. I'll put the name down below. I always cannot pronounce the whole thing. He had sent me some different art supplies, some things that he was telling me about, so we're going to play around with them. He had sent some liquid charcoal. I'm not sure the brand, so hopefully he'll mention that in the comments. And he had sent some brushes by Royal and L. I can never pronounce the second half of that. Lang Nickel? Anyway, so he had sent those, and we're just going to play around and have fun. He probably packaged this up about 3 weeks ago, so I'm curious to see how it is. I think he had said it was a little difficult to reconstitute. He also said once dry, I think the liquid charcoal is very easy to lift. So we'll watch out for those things. So we're just more experimental phase. Let's see if I can get one of these open. This is a cool way to ship paint and pigments. It was a really good idea. You can see there is some moisture in there, and I have water on the side if need be. Some people will ship pigments if you have gum wrappers, the packaging that the hard gum comes out of. You can put that in there. You can also put it in contact lens holders. There's various shipping methods if you all want to share samples with each other. Okay, so this is pulling it right off. Very nice, very granulating, catching the texture of the paper. This paper is just some cheap multimedia, mixed media B paper. Something I had laying around just to experiment on. I wonder what tonal variety we can get. Okay, so here's a big wash. Let's see how dark we can get it. And see how we could transition. I'd used charcoal in college. Not liquid charcoal, but just regular old charcoal. And I usually avoid it because of the mess and the powder, and it just gets everywhere. But the liquid is definitely a game changer. I'm not sure how long it's been around for. I had an art professor in college that would wear all black because he would get the pigment everywhere, the charcoal everywhere. You can get a really cool gradation with it. What we'll do is we'll dry it off and we'll see how it acts. The granulation is nice as well. Kind of almost like a black granulating paint. It almost feels similar to the McCormick black that I was playing around with earlier this week. Let's make a few more marks. By the way, this brush is very nice. This is number 6. I don't know if it says what type. I don't know if you'd call it like the rigger or a filbert. Probably a rigger. Script. I think he had suggested, and I think others have done this as well, mix this with watercolor. I'm curious how that would be. One thing that I would be concerned about would be contaminating a palette. The same thing I do with the gouache, where I try to keep it in a separate container as to not get it throughout my watercolor. I'm curious how that would go. Also curious if it would quote-unquote muddy watercolor. You know, some people will draw and use graphite and then paint over it. Probably use this as an under marking for oil painting. Let's see how this lifts. Okay, you can pull that right out. Wow, that pulls out pretty easily. Let's go right back into it. Probably do some really interesting textures. You'd have to have fixative on hand to spray it when you're done. Let's see. Dry brush. Okay, I'm going to pause the camera. I'm going to use the blow dryer, and I'm just going to see how that affects it. All right, so I just hit it with the blow dryer. I had a lot of the liquid charcoal, suspended in water in this spot, and you can see where I pushed it with the blow dryer. That being said, you could see the concentration of the darkness there and how dark it gets, and then the gradation that is possible, how we can get to the light. So we have, and this is just playing around, white of the paper, we have light wash, medium, and then we could have a dark wash. So far 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 different tones that are easily accessible. And I think a lot of people will say just start with 3 different tones when you're playing out, when you're just experimenting. So that's really cool about that range right there. The second thing is that I'm using the cheaper bees paper. I'm curious how it would be with a rough paper, if it would settle in. Let's see if it lifts. Well, it will, but let's see how it does with it. So I'm going to wet my brush, trying to wash off anything that might have been there. Okay, so we can reconstitute on the paper and push around. We can then pull out that spot. So you can probably do an additive and subtractive type of painting with it, much like just regular charcoal. Go in and go out. And that's if you were just using it as a medium in and of itself. Let's see how much I can pull out right there. There we go. And a lot of texture opportunities. Let's see just one swipe. I'll do a dry swipe. Yeah, so it'll easily move around. Finger is clean. Okay, we have charcoal on the finger, and I could smear it around. So if you're one to use your hands whenever you're painting or drawing, that will work. You could also use the smudge, the rolls of paper that people use with drawing. Overall, very, very fun. And I think, you know, the fact that you're not putting dry charcoal onto paper and not getting all those particles in the air is a big plus for me. I have to find out what brand it is. And it does seem like a little bit goes a long way. This would be great if you were setting up a travel palette. If you're going on vacation or if you're going somewhere to sketch, it's very easy to overpack and be like, you know what, I need a green, I need a yellow, I need a red, I need this brush, I need that brush. If you just have a pad of paper, you have a container, hey, you could probably just pour it right into a old film canister. Get another film canister of water and a brush, and you're good to go. And you could sketch on site. Another thing you can do, just thinking off the top of my head, you get a round tin, you pour some so it dries along this one edge, and then you take your brush, dip it into water, dip, 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 and you grab a little bit and you pull it out here, and you can mix and have a palette in the same container. And do the same thing with an Altoids tin. That'd be a really great way to travel with this. A little bit of dark right there. Let it dry. You have your water. You pull out what you need, and then you paint on your paper. So you have your palette and your liquid charcoal in one spot. And that. So a lot of potential. I'm really excited about this, and thank you, Mr. Mega, for sending me this to play around with. You have a lot more to use in these containers. I'm curious, like I said, what brand and where I could find it, because it seems like something that's worth adding to the art supplies. And what else? I think the future experiments would be playing with watercolor over it and seeing how it interacts. Because like I had quoted him, and like you saw in person, this lifts very easily. So if we were to try to put watercolor on top of it, it'd probably change it quite a bit. You could probably use this as a neutral tint. Yeah, I wonder how that would be. Yeah, mix that into watercolor and play that. Yeah, so much, so much potential for one art supply. So I know this is just a speculatory video and just playing around, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it gave you all some ideas. Let me know what you would like to see in regards to this down the line, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day. Bye.